Materialists is out in theaters, new drama written and directed by Celine Song, whose previous film, Past Lives, was very impressive. This stars Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, Pedro Pascal, and Zoe Winters. It was marketed very strongly as a traditional romantic comedy, but having seen it now, I have to say it is more than that, even if not altogether successful. Story follows Lucy, played by Dakota Johnson. She's a New York matchmaker working for a company that matches singles together in an attempt to create happy relationships. She's been successful in the past. Her ninth couple is getting married, but we can glimpse that perhaps she isn't as good anymore. At the wedding, she meets Harry, played by Pedro Pascal, who is, as she herself describes him, a unicorn. Handsome, tall, successful, educated, smart, witty, charming, and very rich. He gets interested in her, which theoretically is fantastic. But on the other hand, the math doesn't add up for Lucy. She struggles to accept that she's good enough for Harry according to her own algorithm. And also at the same wedding, she runs into an old boyfriend of hers, John, Chris Evans, a struggling actor who makes ends meet by working at a catering company. And he's, aside from the good looks, the opposite of Harry. He doesn't have his life together, he lives with roommates in a shitty apartment, he's poor, bad with money. But of course, there is still some magnetic pull to him as well. So, starts out like a very traditional love triangle rom-com, and I think it does fall into some of the tropes of the genre, and some of them it even lampoons, but it is also attempting to be something more. An exploration of modern dating, of how perhaps access to information about all these great successful people out there makes us have too high expectations. How in the eyes of some it becomes a vapid transactional game where you work out a specific set of attributes and conditions and just automatically approve to marry someone who has all of them without concern for actual chemistry or feelings. And it is also, perhaps most importantly, about the idea of self-worth in the context of dating and relationships. It is a constant chorus of the film that characters do not feel worthy of certain other characters or of happiness. John feels he's too poor and immature to be with Lucy. Lucy thinks she's too materialistic and cynical to be with John, but at the same time, too poor and old herself to be with Harry. And even Harry, this unicorn, reveals at one point that he has this deep, sort of past deep insecurity that he used to have, which is still sort of present in some capacity. It is a movie that tries to ask what makes you feel worthy, and should it be genuine love or should it be reasonable marriage with someone who fits your criteria. Now, my problem is it doesn't even seem to suggest that the self-worth could be internal, that maybe you don't need external validation in the form of a relationship to be happy and proud of yourself and content, which sort of is my own philosophy. And I found it a bit sad that it's not even mentioned as a possibility. I also want to say that for how subtle and delicate Past Lives was in terms of the writing, Materialists has incredibly direct dialogue. There are numerous scenes of characters explaining out loud how they feel and who they are and how they see themselves, which, please, it's a movie, show us, don't tell us, give me subtlety. I think Dakota Johnson is not a good actress in general, but I liked her here. I think she fits the role. Her sort of aloofness makes sense with how she identifies herself as this cold, materialistic, indifferent person. And when she does have a crisis later on and reevaluates her approach, I did believe that. I found that to be believable. And in general, the character of Lucy was fascinating to me, full of contradictions and fairly complex. So I like that. Chris Evans is amazing in this. He's had a couple of very bad movies outside of the MCU, and I'm happy to see him actually do something impressive for a change. Pedro Pascal and Zoe Winters both good. Cinematography is well done. Lots of long shots, camera following the characters instead of cutting often. It was shot on 35mm film, so it does have a wonderful sort of warm look. And I like the score. There's this little leitmotif melody that keeps coming back that sets the mood quite nicely. Overall, I think it's a better film than the trailers would have had me believe, but I'm not entirely sure it is straight up good. I think it has some evident flaws, with the blunt writing especially. And when I left the theater, I wasn't sure myself how I felt about it all. Right now, I think it is okay. It makes some interesting modern day dating observations, but it's not perfect, and it's certainly not as good as Past Lives. But still, I think it's worth checking out.